Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And yesterday afternoon, the NHL schedule was released. We are that much closer to NHL hockey for the 25-26 season. And there were some disappointments, some surprises and disappointments. Wow. Devils definitely not getting any favors. Once again, 15 back-to-backs, tied for the most in the league. And we know how this team has done the past few seasons on the second half of back-to-backs. A little problematic. Very bad luck for the Devils in terms of drawing that many back-to-backs. Rangers and Flyers, only 3 matchups. Pure insanity. I don't know what the NHL is doing. I'll get into all that a little bit. But not playing the Rangers until March 7th, wow. Complete insanity. Last year, I complained that it took till December to play the Rangers, and now this season, not till March. Only one single home game at the Rock, and that's the March 7th one. One home game against the Rangers, 3 total. Completely crazy. It is what it is, but wow. Let's get into the schedule. We open up October on the road with a familiar foe. October 9th, Devils in Carolina to take on the Canes. Early tests. Early test, and this October is not a pretty one. October 9th at Carolina, then the 11th at Tampa Bay, the 13th at Columbus, 16th home opener against the back-to-back Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, and then on the 18th we have the back-to-back Western Conference champion Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid coming to town. Highly recommend getting to the Rock to see McDavid. If you have not seen this guy play live, I do not know what you are waiting for. I've talked about it time and time again. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. To see him live is something special. The Connor McDavid show comes to town October 18th. I will definitely try to be in attendance for that one. Then the Devils back on the road on the 21st against Toronto. Return back home on the 22nd against Minnesota. 24th at the Rock hosting the Sharks. 26th, Avalanche, a Sunday afternoon. I always like the Sunday afternoon games. I'm not sure why, but for some reason they were always felt a little special to me. And then back to Colorado on the 28th. A home and home with the Avs. And then San Jose on the 30th. When I first look at this, October, I'm like, hold the fort. Hold the fort. What a tough sledding for an opening month. You start with a 3-game road trip against Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Columbus. Obviously, Carolina's owned us forever. Tampa Bay, a playoff team. The Jackets were kind of right on the cusp towards the end there. And then the 2 Cup finalists are our first 2 games at home. The Cup champs and the Western Conference champs, Panthers and Oilers. We got some lesser teams in there, but not many. You look, Toronto is going to be tough. Minnesota. Yeah, really only the Sharks. So you're talking about a very brutal October. 11 games in October. Try to be 6-5 or 7-4 coming out of the gate. These are some tough games. Brutal luck to start, honestly. Then we go to November as a continuation of the West Coast trip that started at the end of October. November 1 against the Kings. November 2 against the Ducks. Returning home for the Canadians on the 6th. Sidney Crosby and the Pens on the 8th. And the Islanders on the 10th. Nice little 3-game homestand there. In Chicago for the Blackhawks on the 12th. 15th at the Capitals. 18th at the Lightning. 20th at the Panthers. 22nd at Flyers. Return home for the Detroit Red Wings on the 24th and the Blues on the 26th. In Buffalo, the 28th. At home, the 29th against Philly. November, much easier, at least it appears, than the October. But that October schedule is brutal. We get to December. December 1 at home against the Blue Jackets. The 3rd against the Dallas Stars. The 5th against the Golden Knights. In Boston on the 6th for the Bruins. At the Ottawa Senators on the 9th. Home against the Lightning on the 11th. Home against the Ducks on the 13th. Home against the Canucks on the 14th. Maybe we will see all 3 Hughes brothers in that game. Maybe, just maybe. Little weekend back-to-back there. Then they go out west. December 17th at the Golden Knights. The 19th at the Utah Mammoth. Return home for 1 game on the 21st against Buffalo. 23rd at the Islanders. You got the little holiday break there. Hopefully the holiday break this year does not serve as the complete unraveling of the team. We saw last year, heading into the break, they're playing phenomenal. We come out of the break, it all went to hell. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Hosting the Capitals on the 27th after the break at the Prudential Center, and then on the road on the 30th for the Maple Leafs, and another New Year's Eve, 31st at Columbus to close out the calendar year. Looking at December, you're like, there's some good teams on here. I mean, you don't really know what you're going to get with some of these teams, in my opinion. Like, are the Islanders going to rebound this year? Are they going to still suck? Is Ottawa going to improve? I mean, there's a lot of question marks, but a lot of good teams in this league, guys. I mean, you look, even when people are like, oh, Anaheim and, some of these bottom teams, they've given us problems the past couple of years. And so there are no easy wins in this league, as I've said a million times. You can never take a team for granted, and we cannot squander points to some of these, lesser teams. You got to beat the teams you're supposed to. We get to the new year, January the 3rd, at the Rock against the Utah Mammoth, the 4th against the Hurricanes, on the road against the Islanders on the 6th, at the Penguins on the 8th, at Winnipeg on the 11th, at Minnesota on the 12th, return home the 14th against the Seattle Kraken, the 17th, the Canes, and then the West Coast road trip. Those are always pretty big trips on the season. Big test to go out west into Western Canada and see what you could do. And this one starts with a back-to-back. The 19th at Calgary, the 20th at Edmonton, 2 days off, and then the 23rd against Vancouver and the 25th against the Kraken. Big 4-game trip there. And then returning home on the 27th against the Jets, 29th against Nashville, back on the road on the 31st against Ottawa. We get to February, back home, February 3rd against the Blue Jackets and the 5th against the Islanders. And then we obviously have the big Olympic break, and I am pumped for that. Team USA should be just lethal. Lethal. We got a little taste of it last year at the Four Nations, guys, and wow, what a tournament it was. I've talked about it in the past. The Four Nations was phenomenal, and I expect to see that level of play in the Olympics. The Americans should be locked and loaded. There will be some improvements to the roster, and wow, Olympic year, guys. It's special. Soak it in. But no games from the 5th till the 25th. Devils back in action after the break at home against the Buffalo Sabres. On the road on the 26th against the Penguins. And then on the 28th against the Blues. March. Nice little strong homestand to start. March 3rd against the Florida Panthers. The 4th against the Maple Leafs. The 7th against the Rangers. I can't believe. It's just shocking to me that we have one home game against the Rangers. Only 3 games against them total. And we have to wait till 5 months into the season. This is insane. I don't know how the NHL did this. Seems like a major misstep on their part. Devils Rangers, obviously big for ratings and everything else, and I think that's what's driving the league, obviously. Business decisions and money and ratings. Devils Rangers, how are you only going to have it 3 times? I mean, it's pretty wild. And then make us wait 5 months. But there it is, our one and only home game against the Rangers on March 7th. And then the following day, March 8th against the Red Wings. And then you got the 12th against the Calgary Flames, the 14th against the Kings, and the 15th against the Bruins. And then the boys are out on the road again, March 18th at MSG for the Rangers. Should be a good one. The 20th against the Caps, the 24th against the Dallas Stars, the 26th against the Nashville Predators, 28th against the Canes, returning home on the 29th for the Blackhawks, and then back at the Garden on March 31st for the Rangers. And then the final month of the season, April. Couple games at home to start. The 2nd against the Caps, 4th against the Canadiens. Home and home. Following day, Sunday, at Montreal. Returning home on the 7th for the Philadelphia Flyers. March 9th, Pittsburgh Penguins. On the road on the 11th against the Red Wings. Back home on the 12th for the Sens. And closing out the season in Boston, April 14th at TD Garden against the Bruins. I highly recommend going to a game in Boston as well if you haven't been to one. Great experience. The city of Boston is awesome. Lots of things to see and touristy stuff and lots of good food. Very good Italian food and pizza. Shout out to the north end of Boston, one of my favorite places to visit when I visit one of my buddies that lives up there. But overall, guys, I mean, it is what it is. I'm going to have to look at this more in depth and see what type of road trips I'm hoping to go on this season. But 15 back-to-backs is absolutely brutal. Brutal. And I guess league-wide, you're going to see more and more of these, especially in an Olympic year when they're condensing the schedule and blah, blah, blah. Back-to-backs, though, absolutely brutal. Devils are going to have to figure out how to perform in those second half of the back-to-backs. You cannot just constantly lose the second game of a back-to-back. Cannot happen, especially when you have 15 of them. October is brutal, guys. It's brutal. 11 games, and pretty much every team except the Sharks, I would say, could be playoff teams this year. and they were all playoff teams last year except the Sharks and the Blue Jackets, who were a very good non-playoff team. They were kind of in the mix towards the end. But no easy October. Not an easy October at all, and they got to come out hard. It's going to be a test super early, and I sort of like it. Baptism by fire, if you will. There is no kind of lollygagging, and, you got to get right into it. Got to find your game quick because this October schedule is brutal. But let me know what you guys think about the schedule. I know everyone was furious about only 3 Ranger games and only 1 home game, obviously. And, with an odd number of games, I assumed the Devils would get the short end of the stick in that regard, and we did. Only 3 games and we only get 1. It is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much about only getting 1 as opposed to the 2 that the Rangers got, but I am going to complain about only 3 Devils-Rangers games. I mean, what? This is insane. Years and years ago, the rivalry was super hot. In the 90s, Devils-Rangers guys, oh man, when I was a kid, it was absolutely phenomenal. The Devils-Rangers rivalry was just something of beauty. In 97, 98, we played them 6 times. I forget, they changed it a bunch of times over the years, but back then, 6 times? I mean, that was a real rivalry. And obviously, it was a different game back then, but tons of fisticuffs, hard hits, and it was just a heated rivalry. And it simmered down, in my opinion, over the years, and we've seen peaks and valleys in the rivalry throughout the past 30 years, obviously, as different players come in and out and things happen and yada, yada. But, in the late 90s, the rivalry was amazing, and I think a lot of that obviously had to do with the fact that you played them 6 times in the regular season. Phenomenal stuff. I don't know why they feel the need to get away from that. I do think amongst many other things the league should look at changing is figuring out the schedule to play more division rivalry games. I mean, it just makes sense, and it's good for business. That is what the NHL is. They are a business, a corporation for profit, for money. They want to make it rain. You know what the fans want. They want to see the rivalry games more. I mean, no one was happy about 3 Devils-Rangers games. Nobody on the planet. And you make us wait till March 7th, completely crap. Hopefully the NHL figures it out soon, but there's a ton of things that they're just completely tone deaf to what the fans want, and the fans ultimately are the paying customers. The fans are what make the machine keep printing money. The fans don't want this schedule. They don't want this playoff format. The fans certainly don't want this playoff format. That's a topic for another day and some of my other complaints that are kind of more league-wide. But fans have voiced their opinions, their displeasures with a lot of this stuff, and the league just continues to go and do what they want. It is what it is. It's frustrating. But overall, I will be, scouring the schedule in the next couple days to figure out some road trips. Maybe I'll do some road trip vlogs and things like that. I don't know. I'll figure it all out as time goes on. This is always a work in progress, guys. Just figuring out what people want to see, blah, blah, blah. But I'll definitely be making some road trips, hopefully getting some of those penciled in soon. But let me know what you guys think about anything I had mentioned with the schedule. What road trips are you guys looking to go on? Anything, everything New Jersey Devils hockey, just throw it out there in the comments. I enjoy talking to all of you. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I did a pretty cool interview a couple days ago with the new play-by-play voice for your New Jersey Devils, Don La Greca. I'll put the link in the description. If you haven't seen that, check it out yet. Don is a massive Devils fan. He was on hiatus for a bit as he worked for the Rangers, and a lot of people are still holding that against him. But he is an OG Devils fan from the 80s. We talk about his Devils fandom and the new job and a ton of other stuff. And super, super great guy. Great conversation. He's a Devils historian, and he's back where he belongs. A Jersey guy, and you will see him on the play-by-play next year for MSG Networks alongside Dano, and I'm expecting a lot of entertainment from those guys. I think they're going to be a phenomenal duo. But if you haven't seen it, Don La Greca Interview, link in description. If you haven't seen the Jakub Malek interview, I'll put the link in the description for that as well. Check that out. Promising young goaltender. Going to be keeping an eye on him in Utica this year for sure. And that's it, guys. Tons of things in the works. As always, I will be back soon. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go.